$5,000 for 5 minutes?
They said they would use 35 or 40 seconds on the air. They want me to give them my best 5 minutes. I've got about 45 minutes of footage. I wrote this introduction. I thought I'd send it along with the piece. Maybe they'll use it and give me credit if they look at it. Follow the money is the simple strategy used to unravel mysteries since the days of Jesse James. So, when an ad offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to the location of former Hawkeye and NBA All-Star Rudy Jenks appeared in the USA Today, the money trail led back to a Los Angeles law firm hired by the LA Lakers, and eventually to an even bigger jackpot. Since Rudy's latest contract required the Lakers to pay him a bonus of $30 million before he scored a single point or grabbed a rebound, the Lakers have to be wondering where that money went. Another odd turn is the disclosure that Rudy's wife and son have lived in the Iowa City area using her maiden name since Rudy's days as a Hawkeye. She wishes to retain her privacy and made this statement.
Rudy and I met when he was on the Iowa team. We married after knowing each other only a short time. We remained married because of our son. I have not seen Rudy in person in over 10 years. I have no information on his location or activities. I want only to be left alone. Some friends in Iowa City have known about the marriage, but I have respected our privacy. I realize the money and other circumstances may make this impossible, but I hope to continue to live my life.
And she asked for you?
I spoke with her when Rudy signed his big contract last year. I got a tip she lived here. I wanted to write a freelance story about it, but she didn't want me to write it. She started telling me all about her personal life. I kind of brushed her off, and I didn't end up writing the story. But she kept my card and told the network she'd only speak with me, but that she didn't want her face on TV. Listen to her talk about the football player. She does not leave a lot to the imagination. That's what they say about sex. Men can't help but lie about it. Women can't help but tell the truth.
I started hanging out at the frat house with Gonko and Billy. They were both on the football team. Gonko was a lineman and Billy was a D-back, I think. They played poker at an all-night bar I used to go to. We'd drink, smoke, party, play cards. Sometimes Gonko would have a girl and I'd be with Billy. Sometimes Billy would have a date and I'd be with Gonko. Sometimes it was just the three of us partying. They were in college and I wasn't. It was a little like me being in college. Might have worked better if they hadn't been jocks. We'd been hanging out together for a while and I showed up at the frat house without calling, a little drunk, wanting to party. Gonko and Billy were there with their real dates, sorority girls or whatever. They were all dressed up like they were going to the freaking ball. Here I am, little Miss Shit-Faced. They had a sudden case of amnesia. Gonko said hi and walked right by me. Billy wouldn't say anything or look at me. I sat down on the front steps of the frat house, feeling sorry for myself, blubbering. Another frat guy starts talking to me. I don't know him, but he seems to know me, or know about me. He says I can party with him and his friends, and that's when Holly, Brad Holiday, shows up. He is a president of the frat or something. He talks to the guy, says I'm too drunk or underage or have a disease. Anyway, the guy backs off. Holly drives me home. When he parks the car at my place instead of making a move, he starts telling me I ought to have more respect for myself and invited me to some Campus for Christ meeting. I told him if I wanted to hear about how much I disappointed Jesus, I'd talk to my family. I slammed the car door and ran inside. That sobered me up quick.
I tried to get her back on track to leave out the part about the frat house and the football team. I wanted her to get back to how she first met Rudy.
Holly, Brad Holiday, had done me a favor and given me a ride home when I needed one. Kept me from making a further fool of myself. About 6 months later, out of the blue, he shows up at my place. Holly was a good talker. He dressed nice. He could compliment you and not make it sound like a line he'd used before. He said he had someone he wanted me to meet. I told him I didn't need help meeting guys. He told me this guy was different. told me Rudy was extremely shy but sweet and wasn't going to talk about religion or politics or sports even. So I agreed to go out with Rudy. I needed someone too. This was right when I told my parents I was pretty sure I was pregnant, and I was pretty sure the father was a black guy who had left school and went home to Florida. Daddy didn't like that pretty sure. He said he was pretty sure I was a slut and a piece of trash, but he didn't say trash. He said he was going to kick my ass out like he should have done back when I was in high school. When I left, Mama said give him some time, he can't accept change, and then she said she knew someone who could help me get rid of it. I asked her, what would Jesus say? I should not have said that. She was trying to give me a way to come back home. Just came out. We have barely spoken since.
This is where she goes off the rails again and gives me stuff I can't use.
After one date with Rudy, I told Holly there was nothing there. No interest, no chemistry, almost no talking at all. The minimum. I told Holly I could teach Rudy to drink, to dance, and to kiss as a favor to him. Rudy would still be a stiff, but not a total zero. I told him I'd try another one of his losers, but I was ready to move on. He said he was surprised because Rudy told him I was just what he was looking for. He hoped he hadn't scared me off because he was nervous. Give it one more try. From then on, it was like I was dating two people, Rudy and Holly. Holly would tell me what I needed to hear, that I was making a difference for Rudy that no one else could. Rudy would show up for dates with flowers or little gifts, probably picked out by Holly or his girlfriend. Holly told me we could get money from alumni for an apartment. When he said Rudy could get a pro contract, I thought he was joking. The team stunk and people said Rudy only looked good by comparison. When I told Rudy about the baby and the father, I think it was as much to get rid of him as anything. But then he said something that made me think that Holly was right. Rudy was more into me than he'd shown. He said, that won't matter. He said he wanted to marry me. I sound like a bad person or a weak person grasping at straws, but I didn't have a lot of great options. Wishful freaking thinking strikes again. After the honeymoon, which was one night at the Best Western in Edina, just across the border, Rudy said he had to go back for special practice. He dropped me off at the apartment, and I didn't see him again for 6 months.
So I asked her to summarize the marriage.
From the get-go, I knew the marriage was a mistake. We never really lived together. I figured out that Holly misled me big time. Rudy couldn't really lie. That would be like a social skill for him. One thing Holly had right, the alumni had come through with an apartment rent, a decent car, and things for the baby. I couldn't crawl back to my parents for help. Holly told me Rudy was doing well and had a chance at the pros, and I could stand to be rich. When Rudy signed, I couldn't believe the check from the Lakers.
And here's where she kills her credibility. It doesn't help mine.
Sometimes I'm a bit slow on the uptake, but I get there. I don't know why Rudy married me. I once had a teacher who liked brain teasers. He had one. A man had only a hot air balloon and empty jars and wanted to take air samples at various heights. How did he do it? Never got the answer. He finally had to tell us. He filled the jars with water before he got in the balloon and dumped them out as the balloon rose and screwed the lids on. I was like the jars. Rudy, maybe Holly, picked me because I was pregnant. He needed me, pregnant, to have his baby. That's what Rudy meant, it won't matter, when I told him about the baby. What I wonder is what happened to my baby? The baby I was carrying before I'd ever heard of Rudy. The baby I made with someone I knew and liked and maybe loved for a second. What happened to the baby I could have loved?
What's she talking about? Jars of water?
She thinks she was targeted because she was pregnant, and Rudy did something to replace her baby with a white child of his own.
That makes no sense biologically.
No biology we know about.
What did she say about the wedding night?
I never asked her. I was half afraid she'd tell me. I did get her to talk about the Lakers approaching her since the disappearance.
When Rudy went missing, I started getting calls from the Lakers. Friendly, matter of fact at first. They asked where Rudy liked to go off season. I told them there was no off season for me and Rudy. I never heard from him except for checks from the Lakers. Thank you very much. Then their calls got a little nastier, implying they would haul me into court, get the money back. I knew that was BS. Then they sent Holly. He knew I didn't know anything that helped find Rudy. He said he was only doing it because they doubled his billable hours. It's hard to stay mad at Holly. He's good at making you feel like you were one of his best friends.
This is what she said before I asked her to zero in on the Lakers. I don't think I could use any of it.
The Lakers sent Holly to see me. He was going through the motions. If anybody knew I couldn't help find Rudy, it was Holly. I asked him for help with Rudy's son. Holly said, yeah, he noticed the kid is a little scary. He asked me, does the kid wear that army coat all the time? It had to be 95 degrees that day. Holly said with the money from the new contract, you can send him to a fancy boarding school for screwed up kids. They might even get him playing basketball. I said, play basketball? A kid who won't say 2 words, and when he does, it's how he wants to kill everyone at his school, how he wants to kill every man that comes to the house. You expect him to play basketball? That's when Holly said, it's worked before. I didn't miss that. Holly was talking about Rudy. I knew I wasn't crazy. Holly knew it too.
You sound like you'd like to bring out her side.
She doesn't have that survival instinct to omit ugly details that might make her look bad. I feel like a fake, always holding back, trying to make myself look better.
You sound like you're starting to believe her.
I don't need to decide now. All I need is 5 minutes.